idea number 9, and I promised you 21, so we're going to pick up the pace a little bit. Idea 9, write a blog. Now, if you're going to write a blog, well, question 1, what could you do that's of value to your target audience? It's not about us. That's a hard question. I like to get together a small team of people, maybe on a Thursday afternoon after work at one of the local pubs, get some beer and start talking about this question, right? Get creative, because ultimately if you don't answer it right in a compelling way for them, you'll be wasting your resources. Now, once you do have a strategy, then, hey, work to your experience and expertise. That's what people are looking to connect with. It's going to position you and the company as thought leaders. It's going to build trust if done in a personal way. You know, trust comes, that's the basis for selling, right? This is interesting. Trust equals the beginning of sales. It's going to improve your Google findability to the tune of 55%. And then focus narrowly. Don't be all over the place. Be that one specialist when they're looking for what you do, and post regularly, which is not to say often, right? Regular. So how often does your target audience want to hear from you? In B2B, often the answer is once or twice a month. So a blog doesn't have to be a monumental amount of time. And then, of course, WordPress is the platform. So let's look at 3 blogs. You will notice in each of the 3 blogs, the sense of person, the sense of pie. Personality, interesting, entertaining, or at least valuable to the target audience. Number 1, hey, Dave, I'm a lawyer. Lawyers don't have to worry about social media, right? Well, wrong. Because if you compete against these guys, you're hurting. This is a small firm, Tucker Ahrensberg, 75 attorneys. And this guy, notice, real name, Michael Cassidy. There's Michael. Meet Michael. Sense a connection to a real person. You know what's going on here? There's an old adage in sales. People buy from people. We are now personalizing our organizations online. This is not traditional marketing. Now, the question Michael had to ask himself is, what would be interesting to my target audience? Well, in the United States, employers are really confused about something called the Affordable Care Act. Obamacare, right? We're getting a whole new type of health care in the United States, and employers have questions. This guy is writing about the issues and even providing some answers. Do you think this blog is interesting to employers to read? Absolutely. So it is certainly valuable. He's talking about very topical, confusing issues, clearly an authority. Next question. He could presumably be working on client work instead of writing this stupid blog and billing maybe $500 an hour. Why would he do this? Well, I asked the managing partner at Tucker Ahrensberg, why would you do this? And he said, oh, it's our #1 source of inbound business. So, you want to be working on client business? $500 an hour. You write a blog? Thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars of new business. So even if you're a lawyer, or an accountant, or a doctor, or whatever professional services, you might not be on Facebook, but you cannot ignore the entire world of social media. Number 2, hey, we're in the healthcare business, Dave. Patient privacy rules. We don't need to blog, right? Well, here is one of our top brands in the United States, the Mayo Clinic. And look at this. They're not even writing the content themselves. They are sharing stories from patients. How cool is that? So maybe we don't have to be the sole source of content in producing a blog. Again, notice the sense of, hey, Diane, there's her name, here's the person. It's a sense of connection to a real person. Now, think about the value proposition. You come down with some new disease or connection tomorrow, you can connect with other patients on that same journey. Valuable to the target audience? Absolutely. Now, do you care about all conditions? Probably not. So notice over here they have this thing called categories. You click that, and it will show you all of the different conditions. Now, I'm a runner, so I'm interested in orthopedics, right? That's my thing. In fact, I advise you not to read about these other diseases. You'll have those symptoms too. So, go straight to what's relevant to you. And so that's a principle. How can you get your target audience as quickly as possible to what's relevant? Is there a way with things like categories and tags that you could micro-segment your audience? Now, a blog is not a website. It's a dialogue, so people comment. That could create a problem in a healthcare industry where patient privacy rules. No, because when Mike posts this comment, it doesn't go live. An email goes to the blog administrator. Hey, new comment from Mike Albers. Do you want to approve or block? The administrator decides before it appears. So the competition or an unhappy customer cannot show up and hijack your blog if you have it set up in this default mode, comment approval before display. Third blog, maybe the most valuable B2B blog on the planet, comes from a multi-billion-dollar company called Boeing. And yet, if you look it up, they have about 5,000 readers in a typical month. Now what gives? How could a company as big as Boeing benefit from such a small audience? Well, look, they're not writing this thing for those of us that fly on Boeing planes. They're writing for people who could buy Boeing planes, an airline industry executive. You get 5,000 of those people, now you got something. Now, best practices and some things to avoid. Notice, Randy, Randy. Sense of person again, first name only. You don't have to fully brand employees. But look, don't paint yourself into this corner where you name the whole blog Randy's Journal. What happens when Randy retires? Randy did retire. It's a true story. Boeing has two choices. Hey, everybody, meet Larry and get used to the new name. It's now Larry's Journal. That's not what they did. They sent an email around their executive team. Does anybody know anybody named Randy that can write? This guy raises his hand. Hey, meet Randy number 2. You don't have to paint yourself into that same corner. Take Randy, his picture and his first name, and put him down here on the post he wrote, and then get multiple contributors. Okay? Diversification. Now, pie. Personality, interesting, entertaining, valuable to the target audience. Hey folks, it's hard to believe. It's been 2 decades since that movie, Back to the Future. Let's celebrate. Remember Marty McFly and Doc Brown and the Silver DeLorean and 88 miles an hour? Let's celebrate by going back in time to 1952. Now, Randy does not have a silver time-traveling DeLorean, or if he does, he can't go 88 miles an hour anymore, but he does have the Boeing Company archives. There we go. Passenger mile forecast, 1952. So he goes back in time, talks about the perspective and the actual evolution of the industry, how they characterize the industry, and then to the future, to the year 2028. So Boeing's now looking forward down the road. Now think about 2 things. Number 1, you're an airline industry executive. Is this a valuable read? Absolutely. Interesting, entertaining, but certainly valuable because this is one of the top 2 manufacturers out there. Now, if you're Boeing, what they're really doing is framing the thinking of these executives in a way I'm guessing is not helping Airbus. That, I would say, is priceless. So, very valuable B2B blog. Small target audience, big company. Real people, not traditional marketing. By the way, editorial comment. Maybe you could forecast in 1952. Does anyone believe by the time Boeing put this thing out in 2010 you could look 20 years down the road anymore? How about 20 months or 20 weeks or even 20 minutes? Getting hard. So, I don't know about this forecast. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is wrong. I don't know exactly how it's wrong, but I do have to say our graphics are a lot better, so at least our forecasts still look like they're credible. Now, as we get to the back end of this thing, it's not some faceless Boeing. It's not some traditional marketing. Hey, meet Scott Fancher. He's the general manager on the Dreamliner. Real person. Sense of connection, person to person. Meet the men and women that do the gauntlet testing. Man, I wish I did have a silver time traveling DeLorean. I go back about 3 years. Hey guys, focus on the batteries. It's going to be the batteries. Boeing, the people that are the company. People buy from people. There's a very valuable blog for you. Back end, guidelines. I sort of like this from an authenticity standpoint. Hey, we're letting people comment on these things, so the comments are the views of the authors, not necessarily the Boeing company. It's a dialogue among industry insiders, not traditional marketing. By the way, this is the only place you would find Randy's last name right here is Tinseth, and the original Randy Bassler, for old time's sake, the 2 Randys that are Boeing. Randy's Journal. A great blog.